the guy. Oh, he obviously doesn't understand the joys of law.
Obviously. Oh,
Or shoot stuff in the face.
exactly. Shooting stuff in the face while talking about lore. That's what we're all about.
We killed Skolas last time.
Exactly,
That
and
was
we
cool.
did it. It was the fastest Skolas kill that I think anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, we should go on record for that.
Should. Okay, we are live.
Evidence.
Properly
We're live?
live. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna host.
You're gonna host? You're gonna host.
Yeah.
Are you gonna welcome everyone then?
I meant host on my channel.
Host!
but
I thought
hello,
you said
everyone.
host. There we go. Welcome to the Tower's Watch. We are not watching the tower at the moment because it just felt better to be here in the heart of the Dreadnought. Or is this the heart? I don't really know where exactly.
The heart's the asylum.
Is that it? Oh, well. I'm not very good at my geographical locations in giant hive ships. Gotta work on that.
It's a bit of a labyrinth in here.
It is. It's monstrous. But we are here in the Dreadnought to discuss none other than the Hive themselves. Primarily, the Book of Sorrows and everything that it gives to us about the Hive and all their terror. We're going to cover just the first chapter tonight, I'm pretty sure. Unless we just burn through it, but just from reading alone, I don't think we're going to do that. There's a ton to get through. So I think I'll lead just with the first part one of the first verse, which is labeled Predators from the Book of Sorrows. Predators and Menaces, carved to endure by Zai Ro, third surviving sister of the Osmium's king's last brood. A Stormjoy. A Stormjoy is a living cloud. When it passes over our continent, it lowers its feeding tentacles. On each tentacle are the bait stars. Although light makes you happy, you must avoid it. You will be eaten. A Stormjoy is a good way for an old person to choose death. Also, a daring knight can cut the bait stars from the tentacles. I have 6. Falling. If you fall off the edge of the continent, you will die in the ocean. This is a special hazard when our father the Osmium King uses the engines. Helium drinkers. The currents of the Fundament Ocean bring us near other continents. The Helium Court is near us now. They are of our species, but they are our enemies. Their knights raid us every day. Helium drinkers only have 2 legs, 2 arms, and 3 eyes, just like us, but they are bright or evil. I want to be a knight and fight them. The Helium Drinker Ambassador ate 10 of my sisters as tribute. This is normal. However, I resent it. Mothers. Mothers can fly. They live much longer than 10 years. Mothers are extremely smart, and they guard their spawn. If you try to tamper with the eggs, they will eat you. Sathona wants to eat the jelly and become a mother when she turns 4. Storms. The rain is often poisonous. Sometimes it dissolves flesh. When lightning misses the lightning farm, it can vaporize a person. This entire world is deadly to us. Mysteries. The Fundament is very large. We are the smallest things in it. If you don't understand something, it will probably kill you. My teacher Teox says this is why we have such short lives, so we can breed and adapt quickly. Moonwaves. My sister Alrash is afraid of moonwaves. When she gets back from her expedition to the Tungsten monoliths, I will ask her why. That's the first verse of the Book of Sorrows. And it's interesting, just starting from the fact that what we're listening to is not technically a hive speaking. I'm still trying to get over that.
They're referred to as the primordial hive. If they had a name, it's long been forgotten.
Well, their species is technically the krill, right? That's what they get referred to later.
Yeah.
So we have these krill.
I'm not sure if that's referring to what they actually are, or just a name.
That's true. They do just have names that they call things as well. So this first one, which it's one of 3 sisters of the king of this krill or primordial hive, whatever you really want to call them. And I believe at this point she is technically 2, right?
Yeah, 2.
She's 2 years old. Obviously smarter than, their life cycle is 10 years, as we get evidenced here. And so they're describing that this fundament that they live in is, well, they're prey to everything in it. Which, just again, fascinating from what we know of the hive. They're not prey, they are predators. And the fundament, you said that you think the fundament is a gas cloud, right? Or a gas giant.
Gas giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the way it's referred to. I know it uses the word ocean, but a lot of the words they use in these are very ambiguous. Just because it's called an ocean doesn't mean it's an ocean. And the way they describe this ocean, they describe it as having clouds and constant storms and air currents that the continents move upon using their engines, which to me implies that this is a gas giant and continents are large ships, which are powered by solar sails and engines, and they float across the air currents around the globe.
Which makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Especially just listening to the other aspects of it. The dangers and whatnot. A Stormjoy is a living cloud.
Related.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just move to verse 2. In fact, we'll do verse 2 or part 2 and 3 of verse 1 here. For the consideration of the Helium Court, written in desperation, this sealed secret. I am Taox, sterile mother, teacher to the children of the Osmium throne. As a mother, I live long. As a neuter, I can rise above the small battles of court politics. I alone see the patterns of survival. Alone, I designed the great engines that move the Osmium court. Now, alone, I must act to save my kingdom. Senility has claimed my lord, the Osmium king. He is 10 and mad. The study of ancient text consumes him. Today he raves about moons above the storm. Tomorrow he will wander the halls, speaking to his familiar, a dead white worm from the deep sea. He keeps it in glass, and he tends to it, and he neglects the duties of a king. The Osmium king has 3 surviving heirs, each 2 years old. Zyro, the youngest and bravest, who wants to be a knight. Sathona, most clever, who wants to be a mother. Aurash, navigator child, who dreams of the infinite ocean. Tomorrow she will return from the Tungsten monoliths. None of these are suitable heirs. None of them will protect the Osmium court from the Howling Fundament. Zyro can fight, but not lead. Sathona can think, but not fight. Aurash's curiosity will draw her away from duty. I fear for all future children. Soon the Osmium king will lock himself into Soon the Osmium king will lock himself into the royal orrery to study the moons. Gather your knights, O helium drinkers, and invade our continent. Kill the 3 heirs. I will rule the Osmium court as your regent and build engines for you. And if I fail, let the Leviathan in the deep eat me. Written in grief, this hateful request. Taox, Osmium mother, neutered to watch. This is part 3. Sisters, this is how an oath is done. Put your left hands on the mast close to mine. Take the knife in your right hand, push it through your left hand straight between the bones. Now, carve a bloodline down the mast. Speak your oath. I am Zyro, youngest daughter of the dead king. I will take back my Osmium court and kill the traitor Taox. On my left eye, I swear vengeance. In blood, the oath is made. I am Sathona, middle daughter of the dead king. I will take back my home and eat the mother jelly. I will raise my spawn on the corpse of the Helium king. On my right eye, I promise this. In blood, the oath is made. Now, I will help you make your oath, sister. I will help it too. I am Aurash, first daughter of the dead king. I will chase my father's last screamed warning. I will know what changed the motion of our moons. If the end of the world is coming, I will understand why. On my center eye, I swear it, I will understand. In blood, the oath is made. In blood. Thank you, sisters. We have only my ship left to us, but a ship is freedom. We have secrets to hunt, stormlit realms to explore, and great armies to raise. Put up the lightning sails. We will voyage far. Oh my.
There, just noting the way she says put up the lightning sails, that's another indicator that this isn't an ocean they're sailing on. This is a cloud, the cloud world made of gaseous substances.
Oh. Oh, look, our blueberry is waving to us. Hello, blueberry. Oh, so yes, it's this massive gas giant full of a species that considers itself prey, and we immediately get thrust into this interesting little political feud between the apparently sterile mother, Teox, who is teaching these young not hive, krill, whatever they are.
Let's just call them krill. It's easier.
And a king gone mad. And what's, obviously her plan does not play out as she intended it to because, well, the three daughters survive and escape on some ship. And we see an interesting, you see these oaths born into them, these oaths of vengeance and understanding, and, Sithona's is really, it's an interesting in it that it doesn't have a fundamental value tied to it as much as it's just a goal, which I find interesting. Doesn't really
embodies cunning. She never really reveals her hand unless she's ready to. That way she's able to outplay both of her siblings later on in the story, as we'll get to, and manipulate them. She
how
does
kind
a
of
whole
her.
lot of manipulating.
Isn't that wonderful?
Sibling love and rivalry, right there.
Yeah. So,
Can we talk about the God Wave that's mentioned?
is that mentioned? It's not mentioned till part 4, right?
I thought it was. Maybe not.
No, it's part 4. It's part 4.
Okay.
So I'll read
bad.
this and then we can discuss the God Wave and its implications. And this word, Syzygy, I have not decided how I want to pronounce this. Syzygy? I kind of like Syzygy.
It's Syzygy, however you say it. It's basically, in astrological terms, it is the word that is used for an alignment of celestial bodies. In this case, it's the alignment of the 52 moons of the fundament. Let's call it moon alignment or something, because that's what it is.
Okay, so we'll go with Syzygy, I guess. That kind of falls out of the mouth, all right. Thank you to our many viewers here, and thank you for Morecore for modding, and welcome to Fnatic. Why are there 52 moons? They just wanted a lot of gravity. That's my best guess.
Naturally attracts a lot of bodies into its orbit, as we can see with our own gas giants like Jupiter and Saturn. They have tens of moons pulled into their gravitational pull. So I guess that's why there are many. The fact there's 52 implies this is a very large gas giant, a sort of Jovian size gas giant.
Well, they do describe many continents amidst it, so that makes sense. So let's talk about the Syzygy, or Syzygy. Carved to endure by Alrash, the High Vengeance. Only Zyro's bait stars let us escape. Only Sithona's tricks let us reach the coast. But now that we have my ship, I must lead the way. I am the navigator. We may never see our homes again. Zyro seethes with hate and fury for Teox. But this is my deepest fear. Our civilization drifts on the fundament. At the tungsten monoliths, I learned that the fundaments of the thousands of other species drift with us, coexisting on a vast world sea, and the tides of the fundament moves us all. The timid truth says that we are smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Tyox would have us believe that our ancestors came to the fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid, not of vile Tyox or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, "Aurash, my first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent," and he made the sign of a syzygy. Our blueberry just activated the court, didn't he?
Yep, and he's been shooting us in the back of the head all this time.
Indeed. Well, should we help him? I'm just gonna back up. He can have fun with that.
Yeah.
Ow, 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 ow.
Oh, I can't run back.
Oh my.
Run.
Oh gosh.
Oh, wow.
Oh gosh. Okay, over here. Here we go. Okay.
Okay, I'm on the ledge. I'm safe. Safety.
Oh my. It appears we have to
There's a
relocate.
There's a
Yeah.
wizard in here.
Oh gosh, this is one of those things that's definitely coming out when we make this a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's relocate. How about, oh, I know. Here we go.
Go to the trenchway with the
The
view.
trenchway? I don't remember how to
Yeah.
get to the trenchway.
I do.
Okay, you can lead the way then.
We will continue reading that once
Yeah.
we have relocated.
Darn blueberries.
And then we will talk about the
Scissor.
and the moons.
Yes. Whatever it is. If somebody wants to go and look up how to pronounce syzygy, you get points.
I know what it is, I just don't know how to say it.
Exactly. I just want to know how to pronounce it. It's the group project
That's
while
not the
we
right door
relocate to avoid blueberries.
I don't remember the way.
Let's go this way. Where's this? I don't remember where this is.
I think we just went in a giant circle.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It
the
is
door's behind us the whole time.
SYZYGY. Syzygy.
Oh, here it is. Here's the door. Here's the door.
Aha! I'm catching up.
I just think the trenchway has the best view. To set the scene.
Well, and I think there's
Also, gas giants.
less blueberries over there. Oh. So, it's interesting. We are definitely getting to learn about the hive's origins, which just they're terrifying. The hive are terrifying.
Yeah, there are a couple of things about them that really do make my skin crawl.
Is that a link to a video pronouncing the word? Is that what we just received?
It might be.
That would be incredible.
There we go. Lovely view.
Oh, that's quite perfect.
Oh, where are we?
I don't
Where are
know.
we sitting?
I was
There-
trying to get everyone
I'm
in one
sitting
camera
here.
shot here.
There we go.
There it is. All right.
Saturn and destroyed catches.
Okay, yes, there are multiple species that are in this gas giant. Do you want to just kind of explain some of what we know about the fundament? Gives
Yeah,
me a
sure.
moment to take a bite of my dinner.
The fundament is described as being a world with a vast ocean, but as we discussed before, there are subtle clues in the rest of the text that imply this isn't a rocky terrestrial planet. This is a gas giant like Saturn that we're looking at here, and the ocean is the for lack of a better word, ocean of storms that revolves around the globe. This constant lightning storm with poison rain that's so deadly to the creatures that live in the Fundament, specifically the krill, the primordial hive. We also know that the Fundament has 52 moons, which also implies that it is an extremely large gas giant. I'm not sure how many moons Jupiter has. I could look it up for a size comparison. But yes, this is a large gas giant. Jovian size, probably bigger, maybe bigger. And I believe that it says how many species live on the Fundament world somewhere. Like 520 something. But yeah, there's a lot of different species that live on the Fundament, and the hive, or what they were before, we're calling them the krill for now, are at the bottom of this food chain. Everything that lives in the Fundament is out to get them as part of the natural flow of life. They are at the bottom, other species consume to survive, and so on and so on. That is the natural balance of the universe, which in this story, the Book of Sorrows, we will see this natural balance of the universe is something that the krill rail against, and they're given a choice to shape the universe to their will.
Which is a choice that no one should really be given.
Yeah, no one should make that choice. It's a dangerous choice.
Okay, so back to our chapter here. I'm just gonna jump back to a couple steps here. The timid truth says that we are the smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Teox would have us believe that our ancestors came to the Fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid. Not of vile Teox or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, "Aurash, my first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent." And he made the sign of a syzygy. Imagine the 52 moons of Fundament lining up in the sky. It wouldn't take all 52, of course, just a few massive moons, but this is my deepest fear. Imagine their gravity pulling on the Fundament sea, lifting it into a swollen bulge. Imagine that bulge collapsing as the syzygy passed. A wave big enough to swallow civilizations. A god wave. I have to find a way to stop it, before the god wave annihilates my species. If only I could get back into my father's orrery, I could learn exactly when. We are weeks of travel and many continents away from home. When I'm paralyzed by fear, Zyro sits in the cabin with me and comforts me with soft, brave words. But more and more we have come to rely on Sithona's wit. She will go off to be alone. She insists she must be alone, and return with some mad idea. Steer into the storm, throw down a net, eat that strange beast, explore that menacing wreck. Somehow, Sithona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. What was it you wanted to say about the god wave itself there? Because now we've got that introduced, that their father...
Just explain what it is.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So, as we've heard, the Siges is an alignment of celestial bodies, and specifically in this case, it's the alignment of the 52 moons of the Fundament. Moons have a tremendous gravitational pull, especially when they're all aligned, because that is a gravitational pull that is concentrated in such a pinpoint position that it can affect the surface of the planet which they orbit. This happens in real life. As our moon orbits, it pulls parts of the Earth's crust towards it. Now imagine 52 moons in one place doing that. It would rip the surface of this planet off. But because this is a gas giant, it will ball all of the cloud on that side of the planet together, and then when the alignment finishes, that ball will come crashing back down into the gravitational pull of the planet. And in this case, there are 511 species living on the surface of the Fundament. That wave would annihilate most, if not all of them. And this is a prophesized event So it's happened before in the history of the Fundament as a planet. And now it's time to happen again.
And the Krill are the only ones
these
that
are being
know.
written. Yes. So that's the God Wave, and the Krill are so scared of it because it means annihilation of their species. Teox teaches the children of the Osmian throne that their ancestors came to the Fundament to escape from the void, and thus they've never really seen a God Wave before. They've never endured one. They know of it, the alignment of the moons, because they study the moons in the orrery, the royal orrery, but they've never actually endured one, or else they would be dead. So this is the first time a God Wave is coming upon them, and they have to find a way to either escape or stop it, or else it's game over, annihilation, extinction.
Which drives their following actions. Which this next section of this verse is just the story of these three sisters and their path unto darkness. This is part 5. It's titled Needle and Worm. My secrets, carved in my code by Sithona, the right eye of vengeance. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks and wind-blown flights from monsters. These are the happiest times of my life. I want to be a mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life, long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid we will die out here. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship carved in my code by Sithona, a liar. We salvaged the needle from the Shivubi Maelstrom. I knew it would be there. The Needle is a gray ship, as long and slender as hope, as unbreakable as time, and old. Older than death. It tumbled through the Maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the Fundament. This is not a sea ship like Aurash's. It is an artifact of high technology. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. Zyro wants to sell the ship at Kaharn Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We could retake our osmium court and send the baby-eating helium drinkers screaming into the ocean. But I told Zyro the ship was worthless. Aurash wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I know because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sithona, who should be afraid. It was my father's familiar. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead white thing, segmented, washed up from the deep sea. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, "Listen closely, O vengeance mine." And this is the part where I was reading, and then my brain fell apart.
His brain is all over the back wall right now.
Yes,
He's a mess.
it's terrible. Because, and this theory gets confirmed as we go, I have literally no anything that makes me believe otherwise. This worm is of the Ahamkara.
Dun dun dun. Yep, it's true.
I'm
Get it out of your system. Come on, breathe. Deep breaths. Look at Saturn. Think happy thoughts.
Poor Saturn. But seriously, these three krill, Primidoral Hive, are their sister, one of them, the clever one, is being manipulated and persuaded by an Ahamkara. And we know that even remnants of the Ahamkara, their armor, the pieces we have made from their spines and whatnot, are incredibly dangerous in it that they have this obscene sentience and ability to control people, evidenced by grimoires. The Warlock Grimoire card, he persuades a hunter to go to her death because he's holding this piece of an Ahamkara, and it just alters his mind, his thought process. It amplifies this pride in him. And it's in the hands of a vengeance-longing, curious sister from a weak, easily persuaded species. Just let that sink in for forever. It took me like 20 minutes.
That is why Arash says that they're having to rely on Sathona's wit and cunning. They think she's just being clever, just being smart, but she is being guided and manipulated to a very specific goal by this being, this dead worm from the deep. This member of the Ahamkara species.
Ah!
Elf Crisis makes a good point in the chat. They say that even a fossil, not actual bone, has the power to manipulate, as we see in the story of the warlock who sends the hunter to her death. It's not even a bone, it's a fossil, which is an imprint of a bone.
So just imagine the amount of power that a fleshy substance of worm would have, comparatively.
Even if it's dead.
Even if it's dead.
I feel like I should take these gauntlets off now.
I don't know. Maybe you should keep them. They might teach you something. So moving on to part 6, titled Sisters. A register of tokens and gestures exchanged before the end of sisterhood. Zyro, my brave sister, you have worked too hard to move the carcasses out of the birthing room. Come, steer the ship for a while. Take joy in what our needle can do. Zyro tried to protest, but secretly she was so glad for Aurash's care. She flew the needle ship in cutting circles down beneath the sea, and their wake rose up to the surface like a traitor's dying breath. Aurash, lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come, sit in the flesh garden room. I will read these stories I bought at Kaharn. Aurash sat among the mummified flesh fans with 2 of her eyes closed and listened in silence to Sathona's stories, hungry to understand, voracious to know as much as she could before her 10-year life died. Later, Zyro said, Sathona, cutting mind of yours, you grow lonely in your thought. Play swords and lanterns with me. But Sathona was heavy with sorrow and couldn't pretend any joy as she chased Zyro through the needle's glistening halls. Sathona, pensive one, what is it? What troubles you? Her sisters listened as Sathona said, Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old now. For 2 years we've worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the mother jelly, and the knights who killed our fathers are surely dying of age. We 3 will die here, in exile. Teox will outlive us, and Aurash, brilliant-eyed Aurash, you will die of old age long before you have proof of your god wave or any way to stop it. Aurash and Zyro looked at each other. I wish you weren't so honest, Zyro said, and Aurash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Aurash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret, a secret that could change everything. This was Aurash's soul, her fire and her shadow, her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. We have to dive, Aurash said. That's what this ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, towards the core. That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely, Zyro protested. That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was born. We have to dive, Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. I have been removed to orbit, so I'm going to read this last little bit to you, and then I'm going to I'm going to fly back down to Lao. It says, we have to dive, Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time. More life. Oh, sorry about that. It appears I needed
go
to
for a nice
dance
trip?
around more. Yeah. Took a brief escapade into the sky. So I finished that piece, ending with more time, more life,
Okay. Yeah.
which is all they're really interested in total is more life. Because all of them, their goals simply require that they live longer.
Long enough to enact vengeance or to understand, or in Sathona's case, to become a mother to live longer.
That's her ultimate goal. Long life, long
Immortality.
enough to make a difference.
Indeed. Oh. And yes, metallic depths. And that is an interesting piece. It's the only thing that would make me question the gas giant theory, technically, because it's metallic.
If anything,
Like-
it confirms it.
Yeah.
We've never seen the inside of a gas giant because
That's
we
true.
do not possess the technology at the moment. But the majority of astronomers believe that because of the amount of heat and pressure inside a gas giant, it would solidify, or at least partially solidify, the chemical compounds in the atmosphere into a metallic molten slush in the core. So,
Interesting.
yeah, gas giant theory still rolls. Still rolls.
That's incredibly interesting. So yes, metallic depths. So they somehow came into possession of a ship that can plow through metal. Which is...
Like you do.
Yeah. Oh. That's so metal! Sorry, had to throw that out there.
Oh, I knew there'd be a pun in here somewhere.
I can't go a whole stream without making a pun. That's just not right.
That's what you're here for, the comedic value.
That's my purpose. I read
can't
stuff and I
tell
make
at
jokes.
all.
I read things and I make jokes. Alright. So here is part 7, The Dive. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Zyro dove. And Alrash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep, through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush. Alrash devoured the ship's maps of fundament, from the high angelic cloud decks down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world into the crush of the core. They met monsters of continental scope, vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Zyro flew the needle ship through them, and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place beneath a plate of metal. I'll use the sensors, whispered Alrash. Listen. In the wet gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship, and the ship listened to the crushing motions of the fundament. They heard the collision of continents, they heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain, they heard the struggles of monsters, and they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moons. The syzygy is real, Sathona hissed. It has already begun. Behind them, Zyro thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the caul of what they had made from the deep, whose birth none of them would survive. There's something down here, she whispered. Something secret. And the Leviathan loomed over them, its brow as huge as all the continents of their childhood, its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life, booming into the hull of the needle ship in a microwave voice. You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back.
I love that line.
Save the world from yourselves. If that doesn't tell you what exactly is happening here, I don't know what else could.
We should all be extremely afraid of what happens next.
Well, before anything happens, we have this fantastic debate between the Leviathan and the Three Sisters. This part is literally just titled Leviathan, and then the subpart is Leviathan's Warning. We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long. Across the universe, as far as I see, the sky works to charge its fires and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places, safe for life. Beloved fundament, refuge of trillions, the sky treasures this rich place. But the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless final age. Alrash's protest. Old Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us, there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down where we may discover truth, some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival. The Leviathan's hope. What power calls you down to the deep? What instinct draws you away from high hope? Quick-breeding krill people, I tell you. For eons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edge of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the deep claim. You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Zyro's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Teox are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill anything in the way. The Leviathan's dirge. This fatal logic. Hear my monopole scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death, the ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, "This is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin. Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted." Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helps me find the ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Teox or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whispers lead us, Alrash. Let us go deeper, Zyro. Let us dive, O sisters mine.
Oh, that last sentence.
O sisters mine. O sisters mine.
Those are not her words. Not at all.
Not in any fraction or form.
Her pride, her ego is being manipulated, like I said before, so that they reach this very specific goal that someone has in mind for them. Those are not Sathona's words.
Cough! Arhamkar, cough! Just saying. Welcome to Haniqua, and Tassadar, and Nitrosity, and everyone else who I have failed to welcome. I try to do that, but it's a little bit hard, especially when I'm just, like, reading massive walls of text. But, so here we see the last step before a terrible, terrible atrocity occurs. I'm going to read this last part, and then we'll talk about it for a bit, and we'll ask questions and answer questions, but this is the origin story of an incredibly dark evil. Incredibly, incredibly dark. Verse 1.9, The Bargain. You are Aurash, heir to the Osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yule, the honest worm. Behold my passage, behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling length, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiving cities symbiotic with my flesh. I am Fesend Aurash. I am at the beginning and end of lives. Behold Air and Zol and Ur and Akka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are good. And I want to note, just in this portion, there's this sectioned off O in this text. It says we are good, but it fractions it to where it should be read technically as we are God. And that's just perturbing by itself. Continuing. For millions of years we have been trapped, growing in the deep. From across the stars we have called life to the fundament so that it might contend against extinction. For millennia we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stand the cruel Leviathan and all the forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We want to help you, princes. We offer to each of you a bargain. A symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh, the power to make of it as you will. And should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O princes. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Aurash, you may never cease to explore and inquire, for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Zyro, you may never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sithona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you. And as your power grows, O princes, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Aurash. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach up to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament.
And thus, a choice is made.
And the hive is birthed through the Ahamkara.
I still can't get over that, I'm sorry.
My brain is still on the wall behind me, trust me.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the birth of the hive by mistake and foolishness and manipulation of three poor crippled sisters who have lost so much. It's a terrible thing. And we know from here that the Ahamkara used their... It's a terrifying power of will because the Krill didn't crash into the fundament by mistake. The Ahamkara willed them to come there. They dragged them there. And they gave them a worm, and they saw to it that it happened.
It was all part of the plan.
Indeed. Terrible, horrible.
That last passage just, it reeks of egoism and selfishness and pride. And Ahamkara is a Sanskrit word meaning, literally translating as pride. Pride incarnate. one of the sins of being mortal.
And
this sin was manipulated. They had lost their father, they had lost their home, they thought they would die in exile with no way of saving their entire species from extinction. Pride and desperation manipulated to a dark, dark end goal.
I mean, this created the hive. And I mean, you can see further evidences by the fact that these krill, they had 3 eyes. I mean, we can still see faint traces of what they were.
Interesting to note that also the worms, the newborn larvae of the Ahamkar, have 3 eyes as well.
Do they?
And
Fascinating.
yeah, we can go look at one if you would like. There's one just over there.
Okay, let's go do that. Let's go get some visual aids here.
And every single hive has one of these worms living inside them. And it's part of the bargain that... I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Yep. It's part of the bargain that the Ahamkar extended. We give you immortality, the power to shape the laws of the universe itself, but at a price.
Oh my goodness.
The price being you are infected with this parasitic worm that satiates its hunger on your triumphs and the amount of people you kill, the lives you end, the worlds you take. But the hungrier it gets, the more it needs, the more you need to kill. And if you don't kill, it will consume you from the inside out.
Indeed.
Here's a worm.
Interesting. You can see it almost
Each hive is
prehensile.
infected with one of those.
You can almost see the plausibility of prehensile wings on it. Now I imagine this is a mutation even from what they had, whatever creature was in that jar, but oh, the hive. As to how the Ahamkara ended up there, that's actually addressed to a limited degree as we progress. But I'll just kind of spoil that. They were trapped there intentionally by well, you know, the big floaty guy who kind of is the reason we're alive right now. It's theoretically his fault. It seems that the Traveler is the one who trapped the Ahamkara via the Leviathan. I mean, the Leviathan was used to entrap them down in the deep of that planet. And it's evidence that most likely the Traveler was the one who was causing this god wave, as it were, to eliminate the species before the Ahamkara could corrupt them.
Again, it was all part of a plan that was set in motion long ago.
Yeah.
I didn't even know their place in it to start with.
No.
Oh, people want us to go shoot the worm.
Oh. Poor worm. Fine.
It's evil. It's it's horrible.
Still, it's just,
Here we
you
go.
know,
Let's shoot the worm.
it's a dead worm now. There we go, stream. Are you happy? We killed the worm. It's gone now. Oh, let's see here. There's a question in chat. Does Eris Morn have a worm? Please no.
Ooh. I really hope she doesn't.
But it would be a very, very straightforward explanation for how she has all those hive traits.
The fact she's able to speak their language, use their magic, commune with the deep. The fact she has 3 eyes.
Yep. Though that would also lead me to believe that the form of worm that are present here are not Ahamkara, but just pure hive, because otherwise she would be a prideful monster by now.
She does exude
pride, though. If we listen to her dialogue between her and Cade, she's very much of the mindset that she knows better. She knows all about the hive. No one else knows as much as she does.
That's
And
true.
she looks down at us as a pawn in this game, this plan that she is part of setting into motion, and she doesn't enlighten us about this plan.
That's
We
true.
are a means to an end. I think it's
It's
in the
true.
mission where we go to into Crota's netherworld to steal some of his soul. You can hear her speaking on the comms. I can't lose another guardian, implying that she's done this multiple times before. We
That's
are
true.
an asset.
Which, actually, you know, oh my, I'm dead.
First death of the stream.
Every time. Let's see here, because she does that. And, that would align with it actually being Ahamkara, because she is only stuck to her one motive. She's only continued with one purpose and reason, and that's vengeance. And she hasn't deviated from that. The only deviation that will have existed is now that Oryx is dead, because that she doesn't have her goal anymore.
I imagine it's vengeance against the entire hive, so maybe she'll go after Oryx's sisters, for example, who are hive gods of the Pantheon.
Theoretically. But if she doesn't, doesn't she say at the after Oryx is dead and she's there talking, doesn't she say something about what do I do now or something? There's some
believe she
line akin to
does.
that. Oh my goodness, that's terrifying. Eris
Maybe she
could
has a
spawn.
worm, maybe she doesn't.
She could spawn. She could spawn another entire species of horrifying monsters. With the ability to use the Traveler's Light, theoretically.
That's a terrifying prospect.
Oh, Eris, don't do that.
I don't trust her anymore.
No,
After
she's.
that last cutscene with her and Willbreaker and speaking about the Queen, something's going on that we're not aware of. We are a tiny molecule in this universe-wide plan that we have no idea about.
Yep. We are very small pawns. In a very big danger. I think before we close out, I'm going to read everyone the very first part of verse 2. Because I don't think there's a better note to leave everyone hanging on than that. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely. Go for it. Blow their minds again, if they've still got mind left to blow.
We are the worm your god, the flesh of hope. Our compact is done. You are Aurash eternal, and we are bound to you as close as your appetites, as your loves or needs, as the weapon in your fists and the word in your throat. We've had enough of this dismal place, haven't you? We are intagliating your ship with larvae. Go back to your species. Spread the good news in the osmium court, in the hydrogen fountain, in the bone plaza, and the star surgery. You will rise up into the world. If anyone rejects symbiosis with our children, make an example of them. A mighty ways is coming for them all. They die anyway. Save only what can be saved. The worm grants you power over your own flesh, Aurash. When you've taken the king morph, what will your adult name be? Aurix. It means long thought. We approve.
Yeah. Aurash, Aurix, Oryx.
Yep. Yep. There you go,
Right
chat.
in the mood. Oryx used to be a woman. There you go.
Yeah, just to make things even stranger. Maybe it's the nature of the morph being the king morph.
I believe it is, yeah. Some insects show the same kind of thing. Oh my god, the chat.
Oh, yes. We faced off.
Perfect reaction.
We faced off, or in some of your cases, are facing off against one of the original hive.
Creepy.
It's actually pronounced Aurix. All right, because it's Aurix. I mean, it could be, yeah. The closest pronunciation is Aurix. And actually, Haniqua, the mystery of Crota's mom is not solved, because if you remember going through the last mission of
Regicide.
Regicide. If you remember when going through Regicide, there's these two statues or pillars you can scan, and your ghost mentions that one of them was, there's no record of who it is or anything, and all they get is the name. What was the name again, Lau? I cannot remember it.
It was Nokris.
Nokris. And the community as a whole believes that Nokris was Crota's mother. And Oryx is Aurix, actually. There's that for you. Same person. Yep. But Nokris was theorized to be Crota's mother because Oryx removed all traces. Something happened to her, and Oryx removed all traces of her existence, basically, because it was so horrible, so awful that he refused to acknowledge it or remember it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The only image of her is the one outside his throne room where we confront him in the Regicide mission.
Elf, these are all from Grimoire. If you're referencing the verses I'm reading, they're all from Grimoire obtained through calcified fragments.
Known as the Books of Sorrow.
Yeah. Oh, so there you go, stream. That is the origin story, the beginning point, the starting point of the Hive. We will go on next week to read verse 2 in its totality, which will detail sort of the spread of the Hive, their rise to power, what happened to the fundament. It's terrible.
It's going to get weirder, guys. Hang on
It
to your
will.
seats.
Haniqua, in all honesty, this whole thing is pretty tragic. Lau said it herself that she never thought she'd feel sorry for Oryx, but they were manipulated and dragged into this. And there's really nothing left of Aurash the Curious.
The worst part
Krill.
is later on in the Books of Sorrow, Oryx actually expresses his regret. He regrets taking the deal. He realizes it's ruined his species.
Yeah, so there you go.
That was the most humanizing part for me.
We will do this the same time every week. We are on Sundays at 8:30 p.m. CST. Every week. We've only missed one, and it's because I was sick. It's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Damn you!
So we will be back next week with verse 2, and we'll continue on. Oh, that's an interesting theory, Elf. If Crota's mom is somewhere out there. I mean, theoretically, unless she was killed... Well, yeah, unless she was killed in the same way that Crota and Oryx have been, she wouldn't die. So...
I always wondered if she was connected to the new kind of hive we see in the Founts area, or Fonts, however you want to say it, the Silent Brood, because they're not
Okay.
really associated with any kind of hive god, because you've
Interesting.
got the blood of Oryx, the spawn of Crota, the hidden swarm. The Silent Brood don't really have any one attached to them, so maybe they're her spawn, who knows?
That would be interesting. All right, well, you are welcome, Misha. Thank you all for being here and listening. I am going to be working this week to start getting all of these streams put together as podcasts, and then I'll get a site for those to be looked at and listened to, so you can do them whenever, spread the word. But for now, this has been the Towers Watch, telling you terrible, dark stories of the creation of the Hive, and we are signing
You can
off.
sleep at night.
Yeah, no joke.